Watched all the videos on anxious attachment and I read all the articles on anxious attachment. I tried to understand what detachment meant. I tried to understand what it meant to have a regulated nervous system. I did all of these things and I still felt after I had done these things that I had not moved forward. I still felt that I had growing to do, and actually I still felt more in pain than anything. I didn't feel healed, I didn't feel better. And I think the big trap here is that some people sometimes can absolutely misconstrue what detachment is and what it means to be detached. And we can take it in a completely different meaning than it's supposed to mean, and then think that we are healing when in reality we are not. We are making ourselves worse. Does any of this sound familiar? Because if so, welcome to this video. We're going to go through exactly what detachment is. We're going to go through why you're probably not getting anywhere, which is why I wasn't getting anywhere. I'll give you a little tidbit about my experience with it and what I kind of, the moment that I noticed I really wasn't doing well and I wasn't doing anything good or positive. I was just keeping myself stuck in the same pattern because I didn't understand and I was not willing to do the hard work. And it is hard work, but we're going to do it together. You and I, me and you, we're going to do it together. So let's define detachment first of all, because that is really important that we understand what we're talking about. Detachment. The actual definition of detachment is it is the art of not trying to control outcomes. So you try your hardest, you know that you've tried your hardest, and then when the outcome happens, you do not try and control it because you know that you cannot. And you have done the inner work and the inner healing, and you are happy and content and calm and fine with the fact that you cannot control this situation. This is not an overnight fix. Detachment doesn't just happen because you wish it into existence. You have to do the inner work. It's really difficult. If I'm speaking to you now and if you are anxiously attached right now, or you have some kind of attachment issue, and I'm speaking to you right now about, oh, just detach, just don't try and control the outcome, you're probably thinking, this girl is crazy, because it's not just that simple. It really isn't, but we need to get to the bottom of it. And in order to do that, we have to do some work, some hard work. You have to be willing to look at yourself and criticize the things that you are doing wrong. Not in a harsh way, just in a matter of fact way, like, I'm doing this wrong. I should not be doing this. I should be looking at this and going, this is not, kind of my fault for not paying attention sooner to this issue. And it's fine. We all make mistakes. We all do things wrong in life. That's what life is for. It's for making mistakes and then coming back from that mistake and trying again and doing better. That's the whole point of life. But we have to be willing to actually work on it and to detach from things, to detach from situations and people. It's very difficult. I'm going to say that all through the video because it is super difficult. But if I can do it, then you can. And I'm not fully there yet either. I still have work to do. But that's okay, because life is very much that. You have to continuously work on yourself. I don't believe for one second that you can just, go through life and think, I'm perfect and I've done everything that I can to better myself and now there's nothing more for me to do. I don't believe that for one second. I believe there's always something you can do to better yourself, even the smallest thing. But it's always a good idea to work on yourself all the time, even just quietly in small moments. Not, doesn't have to be these big dramatic things and you always need to have a problem in your life. That's not what I'm saying. But always be working on yourself to better yourself, because life changes, situations change, we change. Anyway, let's define avoidance, because this is what I was doing. I thought I was detached, but really I was avoiding. I'd become avoidant and not detached. And this is what people can believe being detached to mean. An avoidant, the definition of an avoidant person is basically that we would try, you, whatever, try to control things. So in my situation, the situation that I'm going to tell you about, I was I was in a relationship with my husband, who then was my boyfriend. This is when I was like deep in the trenches of my anxious attachment, like very, very, very much so. And I had obviously, as I said in the beginning, I had thought I'd kind of mastered it because I watched the videos, I read the articles, I did all that stuff that you're supposed to do. I thought I'd done the inner work and I was healing. I was on the path to healing. But I actually just felt more pain, and I felt more burnt out, and kind of felt like I lost a bit more of myself in the process of doing all of that. But in reality, I was, in fact, kidding myself. What I was doing was avoiding the situation. And I see that now, but I didn't see it at the time. And an avoidant person will always try and avoid a situation or avoid conflict or avoid making themselves unhappy within a certain situation by removing themselves completely, withdrawing. So, like withdrawing emotionally, withdrawing physically, even sometimes, just withdrawing from the relationship. And in that way, they can kind of have control over it because although they're not there physically or in mind or spirit or whatever, they are controlling it. They're controlling the fact that they're not there. They're not emotionally there. They're not emotionally connecting to you. They're not emotionally, they're not physically connecting to you. They're not being with you. They can control that. And in doing that, they're at least doing something, right? They're at least controlling something because anxiously attached people, or as we've discussed in other videos, are craving that sort of control of the situation. And this is not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, it is a negative thing, obviously, but that does not mean that all people who are anxiously attached are just bad people who just need control. It's always to do with something from your past, from your childhood, some kind of wound that hasn't healed, that you've not yet learned to heal, or you don't even know what it is. And that is what I was doing. So, an example, a really good example that would happen quite often, um, is that my husband, boyfriend at the time, would ask me, where do you want to go to eat tonight? We're going on a date. Like, let's pick somewhere nice to eat. And I would say, I don't care. I don't care. It's fine. It's up to you. I really don't care. And it seems like such a silly, small thing to lie about, to say that I didn't care when actually I did care. And I had a whole evening planned in my head, and I had a place that I wanted to go and eat, and I had maybe a movie in my mind that I wanted to go and watch, and I had an entire evening planned. But as soon as he would come to me and ask me, "Oh, what do you want to do?" in my head, I thought, right, if I can just kind of switch off, become a little bit numb to the situation, and pretend that I do not care, then I've got some form of control, right? Like I have some form of control, and um I can't have him say, well, actually, I don't really want to watch that film, or, well, actually, I didn't really want to eat there. That to me would be like rejection, like plain and simple rejection. So I don't want that. So I'm just not going to say what I want. I'm going to leave it to him, and he can decide everything, which made everything so much worse. Why would that not make things worse? Of course, it made things worse because I wasn't saying what I wanted, because I was being a control freak. And I'm not saying that to be derogatory to anybody, because that was literally me, but that is what I was being. I was being a control freak. And if you're a control freak, it's fine. Just admit that you're a control freak. It's not an issue. We're here together to work on it. You and I, you and me and you, whatever. We are here to work on it. But I was being a control freak, okay? Maybe you are one of those. And that's okay, as long as we are working on it. And the point that I realized this was when I one day snapped. I snapped. And again, this poor man had done absolutely nothing wrong. He'd done nothing wrong. And it was in that moment that I snapped and I was acting like a crazy person. I was acting like a crazy person. I took a real hard look at myself and I was like, girl, this is not it. What are you doing? This is crazy. You are acting insane. And it was for one of these very reasons, right? We were meant to be going out. He asked me what I wanted to do. I said I didn't mind. Um, but then every suggestion he threw at me, didn't want it, didn't want it, didn't want it, didn't want, no, don't want that, don't like that. And so he was like, well, you need to help me here. You need to give me some kind of input. And I snapped and I was very much like, well, you don't ever do the things that I want to do. And he just looked bewildered. He was like, you don't ever tell me anything that you want to do. It was at this point that I realized you've got some serious inner healing to do, some serious work. Like, this is not a small feat. This is going to be very difficult, but you need to do the work. And I realized that I was putting on a performance. I was putting on a performance in our relationship to try and look like I had done the work, to try and look like I was calm, collected, grounded, self regulated, that I didn't need the control, that I didn't mind how the outcome, happened or what the outcome was. And that just was a lie. I'd done no inner work, I'd done nothing. So I still cared. And I was still craving control through being avoidant. And the moment that clicked for me, I just thought, oh my gosh, this is crazy, because the two seem so alike, right? Like, if you haven't done the work, you would think these seem fine. There's nothing wrong with me doing this. I'm just outwardly expressing it, and I'll probably start inwardly feeling it if I keep doing it. But no, it was just getting worse and worse and worse. And there was no communication. And that is the number one problem with being avoidant, is you turn cold and you numb yourself to things, or you think you are numbing yourself to things and you are not. And eventually it happens, you snap, it all comes out. And this is the main thing, communication is key. You have not been doing that. You have not been communicating to this person, and so this person knows nothing. They know nothing. They can't read your mind. They don't know what you're thinking. Nothing. They don't know. So I decided to start talking more, right? Now, let me tell you, please, if you take anything away from today, take away this piece of information that I'm about to tell you. Detachment is absolutely not supposed to feel comfortable. When you start out, detachment is not supposed to feel comfortable. Absolutely not. It's not going to feel comfortable because you have been stuck for so long in the situation that you've been stuck in, and your brain just feels comfort in a very weird way in knowing that you can have that bit of control. So where you were anxiously attached before and you were trying to twist outcomes and change outcomes in, chasing and trying to get things your way, now you've shifted into avoidance, and you are now sort of in that avoidant attachment sort of phase, and you're trying to numb yourself and retreat into yourself and remove yourself from situations physically, emotionally, in order to control. So you're still wanting that element of control, and you're still trying to control. Now you're shifting into realizing and detaching, which is a very, very jarring thing to do because your nervous system feels it on a deeper level. Like, It does. And it, like I said, it doesn't happen overnight, but it will happen and you will get there. And even when you get there, you'll still be growing and you'll still be learning new things all the time. And you might slip up, but it's okay because then you have the groundwork to deal with that. But when you start to detach, or when you start learning to detach, it is not supposed to be comfortable. It is a lot of communication. It is a lot of difficult conversations with your partner. A lot of difficult conversations. Maybe, it's so intense that you get really emotional. And do you know what? Sometimes being emotional and vulnerable with that person is needed. It's necessary. I'm not saying you should cry every single time you talk about something, but like if it does just happen to make you cry, just embrace that. Like it's very, don't forget, we are talking about emotions here, and like again, the brain and just life in general can be so ridiculously tough, and I think we don't give ourselves enough credit for going through life every single day, and it's so difficult. I think we need to give ourselves more credit for that, because at least you are still trying to work through it and you are still trying to do better, even if you fail. Failing is fine. Failing is an option. Failing is absolutely an option. But then when you fail, you have to pick yourself up and carry on. And that's the key. That is the key to, you know, maneuvering or shifting your way into detachment. So let's get into a practical takeaway for you, just to begin with, for getting into detachment mode and not avoidant mode. What I need you to understand is the more that you try and control the outcome of something, which I know is what you want to do because you are terrified of that outcome being the one that you really don't want, even if it's something as silly as mine with where to go to eat and not wanting your partner to say no to a place, which is ridiculous. But again, that's something to do with your past, your childhood, some kind of trauma. I don't know. When I say trauma, it doesn't need to be some mega, mega thing. It can just be something super tiny that just stuck with you and did not leave. That is why you need the control. But you keep chasing it, you are never, ever, ever going to get better. You are never, ever going to be calm in your mind. You're never going to be able to achieve that. And the thought of that for me is what made me want to work on myself more. The thought that I would always feel miserable in my life, the thought that I would always feel out of control and always needing to control everything about my life meant that I did not have time for joy. I never had time for joy. That should scare you. No, that should really scare you because it scared me. And what I need you to know, when you start your journey of, detaching, you are going to need to really hold yourself back from instantly trying to control. So, say in a situation like, I'm going out with X, Y, and Z tonight. Just wanted to let you know so that you know, right? This is something that can trigger a lot of people because maybe part of their anxious attachment is that they kind of don't trust this person or whatever it is. This is just a classic common scenario. I'm going out with X, Y, and Z tonight. Just wanted to let you know. Okay. Now, anxiously attached you would be like, oh, well, where are you going? Like, what what time? When will you be back? Blah, 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 all these questions, questions, which would be fine if it wasn't that you were anxiously attached and you needed to know the whereabouts and what time and everything about this person, so that when they go out in your head, you're thinking every single second of every single minute of every hour of that evening, you are literally thinking about where they are now. Who are they actually with? Who are they messaging? Why are they not messaging me? That would be anxiously attached to you, right? Avoidant you would be, whatever, I don't care. I don't care. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. I don't care who you're going with. I don't care. I don't care what time. Yeah, no, fine. Yep. And then the whole night, still doing the same, still thinking in the back of your mind, but trying to push it away, right? That's also just as stressful, okay? Just as stressful. And detached you would be, oh, okay, um, that's fine, I understand in my mind. I can't do anything about that situation. You've made a decision. You are a grown adult. You can go and do whatever you want. I cannot control you because that's never going to end well, ever. Mostly for me, because I'm going to make myself suffer and I'm going to be the one hurting myself in my mind and in my feelings from things that you are probably not even doing. And you are not going to get any negative from that. It's all on me. It's literally all on you. You are hurting yourself and nobody else. So that's fine. That's fine. Absolutely fine. Thank you for letting me know. That's okay. And for the rest of that night, you are going to just not think about it because it doesn't need a second thought. It doesn't. Remember that when you crave that control and you want to know where they are all the time, or you're messaging them all the time, you're trying to call them all the time, they are out having fun. Okay, that is a completely normal thing to do. In this situation, just for an example, that is a completely normal thing to do. It's not normal in your mind because you need the control of that situation. If they're not messaging you back or answering your calls, there must be something wrong. It must be something wrong because of an old wound that you have not yet healed. You believe this to be true, and I am telling you that it is not true. It's normal for your partner to want to go out and have fun. It's completely normal. If you have a reason to believe that you shouldn't trust them, then that's a different story. But if it is that they've never given you a reason to doubt them ever, and you are still doubting them, and you're still in this frame of mind, then you absolutely do need to begin to detach. And you cannot control the outcome. And if you do try and control the outcome, you will be miserable. You need to let it go. If it cannot be controlled by you, let it go. This is how I started. Very, very small, simple step. Just let it go. At first, it was difficult because I didn't want to let it go. But when I started to see, and this is different from avoidance, I wasn't just ignoring the situation and ignoring my feelings and, yeah, that's fine. But actually, it's not because I'm really, really like stressing about it and I'm so anxious and I can feel the heavy weight in my chest about it. But I'm lying to you. No, I was addressing my feelings within, but then going, this is just your brain trying to repeat old patterns because it kind of thinks it's keeping you safe. Your nervous system is not regulated properly. You've never taught it to be regulated properly. You've brought whatever situation from childhood and you have literally just let it control you. And you should be doing the opposite. You should be trying now to sort of get a control on your nervous system because you need to teach it that these things that we are experiencing now, we cannot control. This is a whole other human being. You cannot control another human being. You can't do it. You are only going to destroy your own sense of self and your own happiness. And you are literally in self destruct mode. So just stop. Just start off with thinking, with remembering and reminding yourself that this is all to do with something that you need to heal. And in order to heal, we have to accept the fact that we cannot control another person and we cannot control an outcome. We can just go with the flow and see what happens. And that is the best way to be. And that is how I am most of the time now. I just see what happens. And do you know what? You actually find sometimes a new outlook on life, and it's quite nice. It can be quite fun. It's a difficult process and a difficult journey, but it can also be very fun if you put in the work and you really try. So I hope you take something positive or helpful away from this video today. And if you think somebody else needs to hear this, please share the video, subscribe. And I always forget to say this, but if you want notifications when I upload, because I'm planning on trying to upload 3 times a week. So I'm going to try and get on that schedule. But if you want notifications when I upload, then obviously the bell button. And yeah, comment a situation that you've had. I would love to hear from you. Message me on Instagram, start a conversation. But yeah, I will see you in my next video. Thank you for watching.